Hi everyone, I'm Ashley from Boston, and this is the story of how I rebuilt my life and how karma finally caught up with my mother. I never thought I'd be sharing this on social media, but here I am. I'm 33 now and love my job as a pediatric nurse at Boston Children's Hospital. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing a sick child smile after they get better. Just last Tuesday, I helped a little girl named Anna overcome her fear of needles by showing her my collection of butterfly stickers. The bravery in her little face lit up my entire week. My husband, Michael, and I met 5 years ago when he was doing physical therapy rounds in the pediatric ward. He has this incredible way with kids. They call him Dr. Mike, the muscle maker. We got married 3 years ago in a beautiful ceremony at the Boston Public Garden. You're going to be amazing parents someday, my sister Maria told us that day. She's always been my rock, especially when it came to dealing with our mother, Sandra. Ashley, stand up straight, fix your hair. That uniform makes you look heavy, my mom would say every morning when I lived at home. Her words always stung. In contrast, my in-laws, David and Patricia, are so different. Sweetie, we're proud to have you in the family, Patricia often says, making me feel genuinely valued. They own a small bookstore in Cambridge and always save the best children's books for my young patients. Last spring, Michael and I were overjoyed to find out we were expecting. We began planning the nursery, choosing soft yellows and greens. Even my mom's friend Barbara offered to help with the baby shower. I know the perfect theme. Barbara had exclaimed, her enthusiasm contagious. She's always been kind to me despite being my mother's closest friend. But everything changed. The miscarriage hit us hard, leaving us shattered. I tried to stay strong, focusing on my patients while processing my grief. Michael, ever supportive, suggested we host a family dinner to lift our spirits. Let's invite everyone, he said, squeezing my hand. Your parents, mine, Maria, even Barbara. Having family around might help. The evening started lightheartedly. Maria brought her signature apple pie, and Patricia arrived with a care package of herbal teas. But when my mother arrived, the air shifted. She scanned the room with her usual critical eye. The table looks adequate, she muttered, rearranging the centerpiece I had spent an hour perfecting. As we sat down to eat, I shared stories from work, including a young patient who finally rang the recovery bell. This sweet 7-year-old. I began, but before I could finish, I felt a sudden, sharp tug at my hair. Ashley, your hair is full of lice. I can see them crawling. My mother's voice cut through the room. Her fingers yanked my hair roughly, pulling my head back in front of everyone. This is what happens when you work with those sick children all day. The room fell silent. Michael's fork clattered against his plate. I froze, tears welling in my eyes. Sandra stopped this immediately. David, my father-in-law, commanded. Mom, what are you doing? Maria's voice trembled with disbelief. I'm helping her. She's obviously not taking care of herself since the incident, my mother said, her voice dripping with false concern. Look at her, pale, unkempt. No wonder she couldn't. That's enough. Michael's voice thundered. There are no lies, Sandra. This is completely inappropriate. Patricia rushed to my side, wrapping her arm around me. Ashley is an excellent nurse who takes immaculate care of herself and her patients. Through my tears, I noticed Barbara's face pale. Sandra, we talked about this. You promised to be supportive, she whispered. Then, unable to hold back, Barbara revealed everything. My mother had been spreading lies, warning my colleagues that I was unstable. Maria shot up from her seat, fury in her eyes. Just like when you told Ashley's college roommate she had mental problems. Or when you convinced her high school boyfriend's family that she was unstable. The pieces began falling into place. Every failed relationship, every career setback that had once seemed like bad luck had my mother's fingerprints all over them. You need help, Ashley. You're clearly not coping well, my mother insisted, reaching for my hair again. Before she could touch me, Michael stepped between us. I think it's time for you to leave, Sandra, he said firmly. As my mother gathered her things, muttering about ungrateful children, Patricia squeezed my hand tightly. You're family to us, Ashley. We won't let anyone hurt you like this again. That night marked a turning point, the end of my blind acceptance of toxic behavior disguised as love. Standing in front of the mirror later, I realized the only things that needed to be removed from my life were the toxic people eating away at my happiness. In the week following the dinner, I took time off work to process everything. While cleaning my home office, I stumbled upon my old high school diary, tucked away in a dusty box. As I flipped through the pages, it was like opening a door to a haunted house of memories. One entry hit me hard. Your mother called the admissions office. Read an email from my dream college in California. She expressed concerns about your ability to handle the program. I had forgotten about that. Despite my perfect grades, I was waitlisted and ended up at a local college instead. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Barbara. Can we meet at Thinking Cup on Newberry Street? There's more you need to know. At the cafe, Barbara's hands trembled as she slid a folder across the table. I've been keeping records, she said. Your mother? She's been busy. Inside were printed emails, text screenshots, and handwritten notes. My mother had contacted my previous boss at Massachusetts General Hospital, claiming I was emotionally fragile. She told my ex-boyfriend's parents I had severe psychological issues. She even approached the principal at the school where I volunteered, suggesting I wasn't fit to be around children. Later, when I showed Maria the evidence at her apartment in Cambridge, she shook her head. She did the same to me. Remember that art scholarship I turned down? Mom told the committee I was copying other artists' work. My phone lit up with a text from Dr. Martinez, my supervisor. Ashley, we need to discuss some concerning calls we've received about your performance. My chest tightened, but this time I wasn't paralyzed. I immediately called Patricia, who served on the hospital board. Your mother has been spreading rumors, she confirmed. But don't worry, I've spoken with administration. They know exactly who she is now. As I sifted through more emails, I uncovered more damage. A rejected apartment application in Back Bay. Your reference raised concerns. A canceled speaking opportunity at a nursing conference. We've received troubling information about your background. That evening, Michael found me surrounded by papers in the living room. Look at this, he said, showing me his phone. I found Mom's old emails. She was writing to my parents for months before our wedding, trying to convince them you were wrong for me. He wrapped his arms around me, but we saw right through it. That's why Dad insisted on hosting so many family dinners to show you what real family support looks like. The next day, I started therapy with Dr. Thompson in Brookline. Boundaries aren't punishment, she explained. They're protection. I also joined a support group for people with toxic family members. During one session, a young woman shared how her mother sabotaged her art exhibition. Her story mirrored mine so closely that, for the first time, I felt truly understood. At our weekly sister lunch at Tat Bakery, Maria handed me her childhood diary, filled with eerily similar experiences. We're not alone anymore, Ashley, she said, and we never will be again. For the first time, I felt empowered. Each painful revelation was a step toward freedom. The pattern wasn't just emerging, it was breaking. And with it, my mother's power over my life was crumbling. Life has a funny way of balancing the scales. 6 months after setting boundaries, I was thriving at Boston Children's Hospital, my new pediatric care initiative, focusing on emotional support for long-term patients, caught the attention of hospital administration. During our morning meeting, Dr. Martinez made an announcement that left me speechless. We'd like to promote you to head of pediatric patient care. Your dedication to these children is exactly what we need. The same week, my mother's carefully constructed world began to crumble. Her real estate business faced multiple complaints about unethical practices, and former clients came forward with evidence of fraudulent dealings. Surprisingly, it was all completely unrelated to my situation. Did you hear about Sandra? Barbara asked during our weekly coffee meet. The Better Business Bureau is investigating her company. Apparently, she's been misleading elderly clients about property values. I focused on my work, channeling my energy into helping others. I launched a program called Healing Hearts at the hospital, connecting families dealing with childhood illnesses. Watching parents support each other reminded me of the power of genuine compassion. One afternoon, while organizing a charity drive for underprivileged patients, I received unexpected news. My mother had lost her position on the hospital board. Financial irregularities had been discovered in her committee's accounts. Ashley, your new program is amazing, a young mother told me, tears in her eyes. Having someone who understands what we're going through means everything. Around the same time, Michael and I discovered we were expecting again. This time, we kept the news private, sharing it only with our trusted inner circle. Maria organized a small celebration at her place, filled with genuine joy and support. Meanwhile, my mother's social circle was dissolving. Barbara had finally shared evidence of my mother's manipulation with their friends. I couldn't stay silent anymore, Barbara explained. Too many people were getting hurt. As I stepped into my new leadership role and prepared to guide my expanded team, I realized something profound. The best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better. My mother's actions led to her downfall, while I had built something meaningful and beautiful from the ashes of her toxicity. The Healing Hearts program now helps dozens of people weekly. My career is flourishing, my marriage is stronger than ever, and our baby is due in the spring. Sometimes the most powerful response to toxicity is simply living well and helping others do the same. Standing at the window of my office at Boston Children's Hospital, watching the sunset over the city skyline, I reflect on how far I've come. Healing Hearts has expanded to 3 other hospitals, and my support group has helped over 200 people rebuild their lives. My mother lives alone now, her reputation and business in ruins, not because of anything I did, but because her own actions finally caught up with her. She still tries to reach out occasionally, but I maintain my boundaries firmly and peacefully. Last week, I held my newborn daughter for the first time, surrounded by people who truly love us. Looking into her eyes, I made a promise. She will grow up knowing only genuine love and support, never manipulation disguised as care. Sometimes the best ending isn't about revenge. It's about breaking cycles and building something better. Have you ever had a family member publicly humiliate you, only to watch karma naturally catch up with them? Did you cut them off completely or give them another chance? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone going through something similar. If you'd like to hear more real stories about overcoming toxic relationships and building a better life, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This supportive community means everything, and I can't wait to read your thoughts below.